This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hey, if you're a freak like me and you like baseball every day, handicapping it, watching it, and more, and if you're looking for that edge, check out the VSiN Daily Diamond. Sharp daily baseball betting insight all season long. Former MLB pitcher Jensen Lewis and Dave Ross break it all down. Lines, totals, props, and futures. Subscribe to the VSiN Daily Diamond wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, search VSiN for our full podcast lineup. Everything from the NBA, Harvard Handicappers, college sports, the college football betting podcast, horse racing, and more. VSiN is the sports betting network. Our boys doing a great job. Jensen Lewis gets a title on the read because, of course, he is a former major league pitcher. How about veteran Dave Ross? I mean, come on now. Dave deserves a title as well. Really quickly, before we get to our own version of the Daily Diamond, we're going to run through some of the top games in Major League Baseball. Do want to point out, some are asking, is Stormy Buonantony okay? Where is Stormy Buonantony? Where is Stormy? First off, thank you. I know you love me that much. Second, Stormy is in Japan. She is fine. We have a couple of things that we will check in on with Stormy Buonantony coming up here at about 45 minutes from now. We finally get an update. I'm waiting for certain pictures of some food that Stormy has promised me she's going to go and get and consume, and yet I have yet to see those pictures. So I'm getting a little frustrated on my end. Surely she will hold up her end of the bargain, but we will see if that is the case. We will hear from Stormy coming up in 45 minutes. But until then, let's talk a little baseball. Did not go well for my Anaheim Angels yesterday out there in Chicago. Took on the Cubs. Poor defense, shoddy pitching, and a lot of hard contact. Ultimately gave the Angels a very, very tough loss. Let's see if they can do it again here today to bounce back in at least a competent way. Jose Soriano gets the start for Los Angeles today on the road against Chicago. This game worth bringing up because Soriano put in a very strong start last time out against the Houston Astros. Gave him 6 innings pitched, had a really strong couple of numbers, whiff rate included, struck out 29% of the batters that he faced in that one. I think the good thing was no real hard contact, hard hit rate of just over 30%, but the important thing is didn't give up a barrel in the appearance against Houston. So if Soriano can come out here and put together another solid performance, obviously something the Angels would very much like because the bullpen of the defense have not really been spectacular. Soriano last year as well, at least worth pointing out, was pretty solid away from home. ERA on the road for him a season ago, 92 2/3 innings, a 2.91 ERA, a 3.48 fielding independent. So Soriano, at least away from Anaheim, has pitched well. Here against Chicago, do we get a similar output, I think is going to be the question. And we talked about this with Burke a couple of minutes ago. I feel like Soriano's a guy that I do want to target to play, whether it's some of these strikeout props with the improved swing and miss stuff, the ability to generate those, and the strikeout rate that I think will work for him in the bigger picture. But I also think, too, that maybe this isn't the lineup to do it. Having said that, weather might be something that helps him out here. Wind's blowing in relatively hard, 17 miles an hour. Looks like you might get some showers in this game as well, so that's going to be worth pointing out and keeping track of as we are looking out at Chicago. Totals 10, minus 110 both ways. The other side, you get Jameson Taillon out there for the Chicago Cubs. We have not seen Taillon yet this season. Last year was a guy that maybe you could make the argument was due for some regression. 3.68 ERA, 4.65 fielding independent over 129 2/3 innings of work. One of the things that really sticks out about him, barrel rate, relatively high, hard hit rate, not too bad. But Taillon may be a dude that can get got by some stronger lineups. The question is this Angels lineup that sort of a strong lineup? Would lean a little under the total. Think that I think Taillon could probably hold this team down. Obviously, given the weather impact on this game as well, you probably get a low score affair. And, well, Soriano might not be able to get these strikeouts today. He should at least pitch well enough to get this done. So maybe an under first 5 as well between these two. We'll have some Major League Baseball best bets overall coming up at the bottom of the hour. Rangers at Orioles. Let's go here. Jacob deGrom getting the start for the Rangers. And don't look now, but Texas offense in the last few games, we're only a few games in. I get it. But as anybody knows who's listened to this, I'm high on the Rangers. And I think they're going to be a pretty dangerous group. And now here we send out Jacob deGrom to get it done. Brilliant season last year. deGrom over 172 and 2/3 innings, gave him a 2.97 ERA. Strikeout numbers were very solid. In terms of per nine, not really on par with what we know about him in his career, but still struck out 27, we'll call it 28 rounded up, percent of the batters that he faced. Walked just about 5% of the batters he faced as well. Looked as close to the old deGrom as he possibly could for a really long time. And you really trust him, I think, in a lot of these spots. And on the other side, you get Eflin, who's going to get the start against the Texas Rangers. Eflin a season ago, not particularly fantastic. 71 in the third, gets traded out there to Baltimore. 593 ERA, 564 fielding independent. Strikeout numbers were down. Command had a very big jump, at least for him. And you do wonder if this is going to be the version of Eflin that we see in a matchup like this. It seems like it's a pretty big discrepancy in terms of the two pitchers going at it. Barrel rate just below 10% a season ago for him, and a hard hit rate of over 40%. Eflin, not a guy that you really want to trust here. Saw this open minus 122, and I think it's fair that we're upwards of minus 130 now in favor of the Rangers. That $1.22 price tag seemed relatively cheap, and I think you can make the argument that maybe still at $1.30, it is somewhat cheap for the way that deGrom can come out here if we're buying and bouncing off of the season-long numbers that we've seen from him. Relatively clear day for this one as well out there in Baltimore. Worth pointing out, some weather reports have the wind blowing straight out to about 12 miles an hour, though nothing really crazy between these two. Let's go to one where we got wrong yesterday. Houston Astros taking on the Boston Red Sox. Yordan Alvarez with the home run. Was talking about this with Mitch the other day, actually last night. He's got this 1 to 10 home run prop on a couple of guys. Alvarez is among them. Alvarez already has 3 homers. So can you imagine if he had that one against the Angels that bounced off of the piping of the railings up in the ceiling out there in Houston the other day? Regardless, interesting pitching matchup. Bello versus Brown. Brown, in his start against the Angels, got chased relatively quickly. When you look at what he did against the Angels, you expected a little bit more. 4 2/3, gave up 4 hits, walked 4. Brown has a penchant for doing that, but still struck out 9, and now getting another start here at home against the Boston Red Sox. Bello, on the other hand, I think is going to be a dude worth tracking because, again, if you look at some of the numbers, he's one of those dudes that I think you head into this year thinking, maybe he's a dude worth playing against. And in fact, last year, he was a guy that I took some shots against at times, but the regression that you saw in some of the numbers never really hit. 3.35 ERA, fielding independent of 4.20, 4.48 on the expected ERA. Strikeout rate for Bello a season ago dipped. It was 21.8% in 2024, dipped to under 20% at 17.7%. Walk rate still around that 8.5%, 9% mark as it was the season prior. Think you can make the argument that this dude should probably be due for some regression after a season ago. Barrel rate was fine, but he's one of those guys that I feel like you kind of want to take your shots against here in the early going of the season. I think you're a little nervous about whether or not Brown at this price is going to have the command issues once again if he's giving up free runners. He balances it out with a decent strikeout rate, obviously, but do lean here toward the Astros. Market seemingly agrees. Some spots open that $1.45. We're upwards of 149. 7.5 on the total. No real movement there. But think Brown should be able to get it done against this Red Sox lineup. The real question is, will the Astros be able to do what they need to do? What's wrong about it yesterday? We mentioned Alvarez went deep. They got to the Red Sox and scored enough runs here in the last 3 games. This Astros lineup has seemingly woken up. So we'll see if they can do it again here against the Red Sox. 2 more we're really interested in. New York Yankees at the Seattle Mariners. Yankees open up as a small favorite on the road. Max Fried opposing Logan Gilbert. Minus 115 was the opening price. You're sitting like pick, minus 115, depending on where you look here. For Fried, we did get to see him already in that start on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Looked every bit of Max Fried. 6 1/3 innings, gave up 2 hits, walked 1, struck out 4. Probably could ask, I guess, a little bit more of the swing and miss stuff. Taking on a Mariners team that, as we know from a lineup standpoint, has a penchant for getting punched out at a pretty high rate. So maybe Fried can get over the strikeout numbers that are posted for him in the market. And for Gilbert, we saw him. You talk about strikeouts and the way that you can get guys to swing and miss. Good performance against Cleveland, and rightfully so. We talked about this with Jensen Lewis yesterday. The way that Cleveland's lineup can potentially make some guys look pretty good, but we know how good Gilbert can be. 7 strikeouts over the course of 5 1/3, 5 hits, did give up 3 earned runs, so did get tagged a little bit there, and also a homer in that regard too for Gilbert. This Yankees team is playing so well right now at the beginning of the season. The lineup's deadly. You do wish that, and Judge, by the way, at least the power's there, not hitting for average, but hitting for power as we know that he can do. expect that maybe you can get some damage done here against Gilbert. And if you get deeper, a little bit of the bullpen, if you can chase him and get that pitch count up. And this is the time you're going to do it, right? We've hit on this a couple of times, but at the beginning of the season, teams are more than likely going to let guys get go short as opposed to letting them get stretched out because you want to make sure that everybody's ready to go as you get deeper into the season. We're only get 5-6 games in. Shohei Ohtani, though, is going to be the headline tonight. So let's hit this. Dodgers starting him minus 235 on the opening price tag for the Dodgers. Look at this. Upwards of minus 280 now on LA. Total of 8, shaded to the under at minus 115 at the open. Pretty much where we're at right now, depending on where you look. You see the DraftKings odds up at VSiN.com. Watching Ohtani as a pitcher is going to be great. How long is he going to be out there? Do you play maybe some of the unders on some of these strikeout props? Because, again, the Dodgers' goal is going to be to protect him and some of these other guys that they have in this rotation to make sure that they're ready for deep into the season. As we just talked about with Gilbert, ties into here. We know what this Guardians lineup can do in terms of getting punched out at a high rate as well. Maybe you can, maybe there's a delicate balance there to be had. A short outing, but still going to get over that strikeout prop. But Shohei Ohtani's strikeouts and just how he performs here is obviously going to be front and center. And Bybee, whether or not we're going to see the guy who last season posted a 5.40 ERA, or excuse me, a 182 and a third last year, 4.24 ERA, and a 4.34 fielding independent. In the one start we've seen from him, it was not great. The command issues were there, had some issues keeping the ball in the park. You don't want to do that here against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And hopefully it's a big dog day. As we mentioned at the start of the show, a lot of big underdogs on Monday night. Nationals plus 148, Rangers plus 111, Astros plus 114, Mariners plus 109, White Sox plus 127, Rockies at plus 233, Athletics plus 112, and the Rays at about plus 136, all cashing on Monday night. So maybe we get the same things here. And speaking of the Dodgers, hey, man, it was a good fantasy poll. Roki Sasaki gave you something last night. He did okay. Maybe this is the start of a turnaround here for Sasaki, and maybe spring training means absolutely nothing. When we come back, let's check in with the real smart guy. Zach Cohen is joining us here on the other side. Get his thoughts on the card today. There's a couple of games that I got to get his thoughts on. 4 really big ones on the schedule. Does he think this team can get it done in a potential NBA Finals preview? We'll find out. So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We got a good card in the NBA. We actually have about 4 games that are really kind of solid, that have some weight to them, some girth to them, and that we actually get to watch. And we don't have 16 double-digit favorites tonight. We do have one. Charlotte is a 17.5-point favorite against the Brooklyn Nets. But outside of that, every other point spread is underneath the 5.5-point mark. So with that, let's welcome in Zach Cohen on the Progressive Guest Line, our hardwood handicapper extraordinaire, host of Hardwood Handicappers, wherever you get your podcasts, and senior editor up at VSiN.com. Yes, managing editor is one Adam Berg. Zach, it's good to talk to you. Let's start with your Suns. Dylan Brooks is going to be back today. A 2-part question, your expectations for him, and by extension, your expectations for the Suns, who are not in the best of scheduling spots against the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, I think that Brooks should be fine, just given the fact that it was a hand injury, not anything that would really affect his conditioning too much, as long as he was, kind of doing his own part in staying conditioned on the sidelines. I'm sure he will get up to 25 to 30 minutes this evening. I do think that they are just relying on him on the defensive end and just having his leadership out there. So the fact that he's back at this portion of the season is big. And I do think they're going to be able to win this game, even despite the poor scheduling spot, as you just mentioned. It is third game in 4 nights, second leg of a back-to-back, but it helped that last night's game against Memphis was somewhat lopsided. You didn't see big minutes for either Devin Booker or Jalen Green. And I do just think that this Magic team is in a really bad way right now. They're 1-7 straight up in their last 8 games. They're 27th in the NBA in raw defensive rating in that span. I just really don't see them stopping Phoenix, especially without Franz Wagner and Anthony Black.
Yeah, they also hate each other, which I think is probably something that seems to be weighing on this team. We'll see if that's the case. But Ime Udoka hates every single one of his players, and I think the Magic just all hate each other at this point right now. Magic, again, as we said right there, and you watch it on VSiN.com, 2.5-point favorite, total 224.5. Also on your card for today, and go to VSiN.com too, by the way. You can check out everything you have to offer up on the website, including what Zach has. Let's go to the Lakers-Cavaliers game first before we get to your parlay, because this looks like a fun one. Austin Reeves and the Lakers. We'll say Austin Reeves and the Lakers because you have a play on him. Taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is about a 2.5-point spread. Totals 234.5. Both teams on the second leg of a back-to-back. What's your expectation for Reeves tonight?
Yeah, I think that Reeves is going to go over 21.5 points. That's the way I played it at -125. I would have been willing to go a little bit higher, even to 22.5, maybe 23.5. I just think that this is a game that you can expect to be high scoring. Like you said, second leg of back-to-back for both. Don't necessarily trust either team defensively, at least when it comes to, guarding on the perimeter. So I think this is going to be a game where we see kind of both backcourts get going. And I know Luka Doncic will be back out there for the Lakers, but Reeves has been able to get his even when Luka's been in the lineup. It's more, LeBron that has taken, kind of the back seat and really been that third guy in this offense. So I think that Reeves getting to go to work against Mitchell and Harden, I really do like this matchup for him. I think he's going to be kind of relentlessly getting 2 feet in the paint. I think he'll knock down some threes, and I think he'll get himself to the free throw line. So I think this is going to be a really good game. I kind of think the Cavaliers would be my pick if we're talking about the side, but I do think this is a game Reeves goes off.
Yeah, we're waiting for injury reports. Not yet submitted for both sides yet still. Obviously, second legs of back-to-backs, and it's a West Coast game, so we'll get those in a little bit. But I was with you. I was also somewhat surprised. We saw this total open 236.5. We're down to 234.5. I mean, it seems like low-hanging fruit, but on the surface, this seems like a very high-scoring game. The Harden and Mitchell numbers, when they're both on the court together, the offense is great, but the defense is terrible. And I think they both have enough to go after what is a relatively weak backcourt defensively. Don't you?
Yeah, and if Marcus Smart's out, I really do like playing the over on Lakers games. So that would be another thing to keep an eye on. Maybe there is news that he will be playing, and that's why it's gone down a little bit. But I do think there's a potential for this to be a really ugly game defensively if he is out for Los Angeles. He's just the only player in the rotation that really takes any pride at all in defending his man.
All right, let's go to Toronto and Detroit, and then you can expand on this because you have this as part of the parlay too. But I feel like the Raptors are going to maybe be worth looking at here, although it is a somewhat short number. We're at 3.5. We do know that for the Pistons, it was a very favorable injury report for them for the most part, coming in on the second leg of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights for them too. So how are we handling this and the Knicks-Rockets game?
Yeah, so I took a parlay with alternate spreads, and I have Raptors plus 7.5 and Rockets plus 7.5. But the reason for that is that I did have leans on both of those teams. I like Toronto plus 3.5 a little bit. Would have been hoping to get a little bit more like 5.5 or more. Also liked Houston against New York, but I felt a little bit better giving myself some extra cushion. But with this Pistons game against the Raptors, it's just a lack of trust in Detroit offensively without Cade Cunningham. I know this has been pretty good for them without Cade, and that like Dennis Jenkins has played very well. Duran's played very well, but you did see last night in a game that they essentially tried to punt. They ended up going to overtime against OKC, and guys like Jenkins, guys like Kevin Huerter, Asar Thompson, like these are players that all played pretty big minutes last night. So you will have some players fatigued. And this Toronto team, they might not be great offensively. They might not be consistent, but they are 6th in the league when you look at defensive rating. If you are a team missing your best player offensively, I think that you will struggle to score against the Raptors. And we did see Toronto kind of beat them down in Toronto not too long ago when Cade was playing. So I think the Raptors have a chance of winning this game tonight, but I wanted some extra points. Other one, Rockets-Knicks. It's just, I really like the defensive matchups for Houston. I know that it was kind of a punchline, what we saw in New York when Houston just kind of threw up all over themselves in the fourth quarter, allowed New York to come back. That Garden crowd got crazy. But I do think that, for 3 quarters, we saw the Rockets outplay the Knicks. I think you could expect to see that again here. But in Houston, I wouldn't expect a late flurry from the Knicks.
All right, last 4.5 minutes of Zach Cohen. Remember, check out everything up on the website of VSiN.com. Also, Harvard Handicappers every single day. And do what I do. Listen to it every single day, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's talk some awards really quickly. First off, so Joe Mazzulla makes the comments the other day. We played them yesterday about how he doesn't want the award. It's stupid. I don't think that'll affect how voters vote for the award. In fact, I think you can make the weird reverse psychology argument that some would probably vote for him just to see what he would do when he wins the award. But neither here nor there. what is this stretch from Detroit going to do for Bickerstaff? Because that's the thing I kind of touched on when we played the Missoula clip, that I think Missoula's going to win it. But Bickerstaff deserves some credit. They have not fallen off since Cade's injury.
Yeah, so I think Bickerstaff's done a good job this season, but the one thing that I can't understand is, like, you look at all the teams or the coaches of the teams that are in this race. Like, Bickerstaff is the only one that was coaching a team that I think people expected to be very good this season. I think we all knew a leap was coming from Detroit after seeing them in the postseason last year. So while it did come in a big way, and they are the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and like you said, he's done a good job since Cade has gone out, I do think that it should go to one of the coaches like Missoula or Johnson or Lee or Ott a little bit further down. I just feel like these are teams that really exceeded expectations in a big way, all of them going way over their win totals, whereas Detroit had a pretty high one to begin with, and yeah, they've gone over, but I do think the coaching job has been better from some of the longer shots. I'm not sure I'm alone in that thinking. We don't really get the straw polls the way we do for MVP, seeing where people really stand with this award, but I think I'd still be looking to take some shots a little bit further down and just hope that, people see it the same way that I do, because I think even Mitch Johnson at 15-1 out there somewhere, that's a team that's now number 2 in the Western Conference, very close to being number 1. I think that, their regular season win total was 44.5. That's been about as good as a job as anybody has done this year.
Can Victor Wembanyama steal MVP from Shea? Or are we doing too much about this? I mean, we had Shea commented on it yesterday, said, quote, we played the clip too. Yeah, I'm good. I let my game do the talking. And we also should keep this in mind before you answer your question. Tim Bontemps was hinting at this the other day, that a straw poll, the final one, is coming soon. It might be tomorrow. Who knows? But that is also the thing that weighs over this, is how big is that gap going to be between these two? But can Victor Wembanyama steal this from Shea Gilgeous-Alexander?
I don't think he's going to. I mean, we're going to see, and we'll see what that straw poll looks like, but I do think that the odds accurately reflect right now where it is. I think that he has passed the Joker. I think he's passed Luka. I just don't think he's passed SGA just yet. I think you look at some of the advanced metrics for this season, estimated plus minus, estimated wins, they all still say that SGA has been the best player in the league, and we gave it to him last year for having an historic season as a scorer. This year has only been better. He's averaging, 30 plus points on 55% shooting from the floor. That's unheard of for, a primary guard. That's like a big man number. It's just insane what he has done this year. I think that, some of the circumstances surrounding his season have been underrated a little bit, with Jalen Williams having missed so much time. He's just really had to carry, the load for this team that has been, the best team in basketball all year. So I really would be surprised if Wemby wins this year, but I said it on Hardwood Handicappers. This is the last year that I think we're having this conversation. I do think that Wemby, as long as he stays healthy, is going to win a lot of these starting next season.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the case. And he's making a push for it, obviously, too, so we'll see. But I don't think enough voters, I would agree with you, generally are going to get there. Man, I got to get in something, because I've got a good Wembanyama number, but I think I'm going to probably just flip it all into Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. It's kind of cheap right now. All right, dude, good to talk to you as always. Thanks a lot for moving up this week. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Got it at Betting on X, up on X. If you want to give him a follow, see what he's got going on. Again, Hardwood Handicappers. Also go to VSiN.com. We got a lot of stuff up there. If you hit VSiN.com/subscribe, you can sign up now for as little as $9.99. You get the daily best bets, real-time betting splits if you like, 24/7 video, and the AI-powered prop tools are fantastic. We got some more on that coming up a little bit later. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Check it out.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, Final Four is coming on Saturday. It'll be here before you know it. We also have a college basketball tournament getting started. Getting started out here in Las Vegas, as the Crown will have its opening matches tomorrow, Wednesday, April 1st. Oklahoma, Colorado, Baylor, and Minnesota as part of it as well. We also have some NIT action still going on, too. So who better to break down all of the college basketball with than one Bruce Marshall, who's nice enough to give us some time here today to take a look at everything college hoops, and maybe a little bit more if we have some time. Bruce joins us now on the Progressive Guest Line. It is good to talk to you, sir. We always appreciate a couple minutes from you. Let's start with the big boys, then we'll get to the other games. Illinois and UConn is where I want to begin with you because this looks like a fun game. Both of them do, really, but Illinois with a pretty big edge in terms of the way they shoot the ball, taking on a UConn team that will not die. 2 is the number for Illinois with a total of 139.5. What do we make of this matchup between Brad Underwood and Dan Hurley?
Yeah, JVG. Well, yeah, UConn dies hard. I mean, we saw that they just refused to surrender there on Sunday. They still shouldn't have won the game. Duke should be kicking itself for blowing that. But nonetheless, you keep plugging away. Those things can happen. Harris Reed is able to dominate in the tournament. If the tournament ended right now, he'd probably be the MOP of the tournament, most outstanding player, because what he's been able to do. I mean, he's not. I mean, it's all just, bruising, punishing play there and around the, down on the blocks. And his footwork is really good, though, and he passes pretty well. He doesn't really have a shot that he shoots, but everything is within like 5 feet of the bucket, and he's very good with that. Illinois has size. They got some 7-footers. The Ivisic brothers are certainly going to be down there. This is the biggest college team in the country. I mean, they average, they're 6'8" across the floor, and their lineup. Wagler has turned into a tremendous force as a freshman. This season, John, when I have watched Illinois, there have been a few times I wondered what's wrong with this team when they just looked flat. But more often than not, I thought when they hit on all cylinders, they're the best-looking team in the country. All these guys can shoot. Wagler is a cutting edge there. And I think, their size, matches up very well with UConn. I know Duke had some size too with Ngongba, and Reed still had a big game, but this is a little bit different because there's so much size up front for Illinois. I kind of think Illinois gets there, and they're a slight favorite, I know, and a lot of people I'm talking to think UConn's, getting UConn plus points. Maybe. I can't argue with that too much, but I'm leaning to Illinois.
Yeah, you and I both. Illinois, again, 2.5-point favorite, total of 139.5. On the other side, many people are calling it, Bruce, the actual national championship game, Arizona and Michigan. Michigan opens pick, gets up to 1.5. That's where we've been sitting here this whole time. Total is at 157.5. For the battle of these heavyweights, who in the world has an edge?
I think Arizona does, but I mean, you're talking tight quarters here because Michigan has been so good this year. The tournament is sort of broken well for Michigan, and I thought, listen, the referees, I don't want to get harping on them because the calls go both ways, but they really took Tennessee out of that game in the Elite Eight. Tennessee needed to keep its bigs on the floor. That was their chance against Michigan. They were doing fairly well halfway through the first half, and then the fouls came. They had to sit those guys down, and they just lost contact. Michigan's guards played better in that game. I still think that's kind of the perimeter can be a weakness for Michigan. Cadeau is playing a little bit better now, and the guards have been, McKinney's had a good game. They played better, but this is still a frontline team. But the way Arizona I don't see any flaws on this team. And right from the outset this year, these freshmen, they hit the ground running back in November. I mean, it was cool. Pete early on, Burries has come on. All of these guys have just stepped up, and they've got, the senior guard too, and Bradley gives them something. I kind of think Arizona gets there. The way they took over the second half against Purdue, and they just keep punishing toward the bucket there. They're going to really test this Michigan front line. I know Michigan's front line is good, and Mara can be there as the ultimate rim protector, but something tells me Arizona just few flaws on this team, very few. I'm going to lean to the Wildcats just a bit.
Do you buy the theory that this is the real national championship game, or what chance do you give in Illinois or UConn against either Michigan or Arizona?
The reason I don't buy that is because I remember Houston and in 1983 because that was the semifinal, and that was a great game, as we know. That was supposed to be the final, and the winner of the other semifinal, NC State and Georgia, nobody was thinking about it. NC State ended up winning, Jim Valvano. So I don't quite buy that because I know college hoops history. And Illinois, listen, I know Illinois lost to Michigan the last time they played them. But if that's the final, that revenge factor could be in there. And they don't match up better with Arizona either. Neither would UConn. I think the final is going to be close no matter who's in there.
Bruce Marshall with us, again, professional sports bettor looking at college basketball. You mentioned most outstanding player. I would have to agree. I mean, Terrace Reed right now has been like the main offense for UConn. Any other candidates stick out for any of these other teams right now for most outstanding player?
Well, I mean, somebody's going to step forward here for all of them. I think right now, though, he would probably be the one for me. Arizona has had such a good, balanced attack here in the postseason. So I'm not sure one guy sticks out so much there. They've had Burris has led in scoring twice. So I mean that's a possibility there, but I wouldn't put him over Terrace Reed. And Michigan, Illinois, I'm not sure who would be there. If Michigan, it would probably be Lendeborg. If Michigan can get into the final and win it, I think he'd be the other guy right now. But it's going to probably be somebody from the winning team. So if UConn loses on Saturday, it's probably not going to be Reed. And if Michigan keeps going, I think Lendeborg would be my next choice.
Yeah, for our audience, Yaxel Lendeborg is the favorite right now at BetMGM plus 230. Obviously, Michigan favored to move on to the national championship, will be favored in that matchup there. Braden Burry's at 3-1, Jaden Bradley at 5-1, Keaton Wagler at 7-1. Then you get into the double digits. Koa Pete 10, Terrace Reed is 16-1. Bruce Marshall's with us. Bruce, really quickly, let's head to the NIT semifinals. Both interesting matchups. I've watched a lot of New Mexico basketball. They're 3.5-point favorites against Tulsa. This is coming up on Thursday. And then Auburn, Illinois State. Auburn's a 6.5-point favorite, total of 149.5. Did you have anything in any of the NIT semis?
Well, the one thing about Auburn thus far, they are here into the semis, and I guess they're playing this at Butler, and then they'll play the final game on Sunday this year at the Pacers Arena downtown. Auburn has won all three games in the first three rounds of the NIT, has failed to cover the spread in each of them. So do I want to lay 6.5 with Auburn? Maybe not. Illinois State keeps surprising me here. Maybe there's something about these postseason tournaments that the Redbirds really like. I mean, they won the CBI last year down when they were still playing the CBI in Daytona Beach. A lot of mid-major teams they beat along the way, but I was impressed. The win at Dayton really impressed me there. Good balance. They've got a real bruiser down there and Chase Walker down on the block. So I think that one I could see taking Illinois State plus the points. New Mexico, you wonder if, they're not playing in the pit and, how much that has helped New Mexico get here. Tulsa have been playing games at home too, I know. But I don't know that this is the same team away from Albuquerque. And Tulsa, they did get David Green, their top scorer, back. He didn't score much against Wichita last Tuesday in the quarterfinal, but at least he's back after hurting that shoulder, so he's going to be a week on from that. I might look at both underdogs in the semifinals of the NIT. We'll see.
All right, what about the crown out here? We'll start with the first matchup because I think there's a lot here, but Oklahoma's up to a 9.5-point favorite against Colorado. Buffaloes are playing shorthanded, though, right?
They are. Three top guys are out. I mean, the portal really hit Colorado really hard. Johnson, their top scorer, is out. I mean, they're depleted. And this is the risk when they play a tournament like this a couple weeks after their season ends. The portal's already opened up. They've lost a few guys in it, and I don't think Colorado's built to go very far. Oklahoma hasn't lost anybody in the portal yet. The only guy who's not going to play, unless Forsythe, the backup guard, just off the bench, he's not going to be with the team in Las Vegas, but he's just a backup. I think Oklahoma looks really good down the stretch. I mean, they were playing well enough to make the dance. Had they beaten Arkansas in that SEC semifinal, I think they would have been the last team in the fields ahead of SMU, so we will see. But I think Oklahoma looks good there. I look ahead to the second day of the Crown, and I kind of like West Virginia here, and I'm going to have to check a little bit more, make sure everybody's there for Ross Hodge. But I like the way they played down the stretch. Defense first, and Hodge was part of that North Texas staff when McCaslin was still there when they won the NIT in Las Vegas a few years ago. West Virginia played a lot like North Texas teams of the last few years that Hodge coached after McCaslin left. Defense first, slower pace, can on or off the guard. I want to make sure he's playing, but if he's there, he can shoot bombs away on the threes when they need him. West Virginia is a side I would keep an eye on in this tournament.
Bruce, we are up against it, but you are a wealth of knowledge, a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it as always.
Thank you, John. Take care.
Yep, you got it. Again, Bruce Marshall with us, professional handicapper. Look at that. Every single one of them knew it just off the top of the head. All right, come back. We got to hit a lot before we get out of here. We have best bets, a recap from yesterday, and we finally answer the question, where in the world is Stormy Buonantony?
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You got the group chat, you got the opinions. Now put your money where your mouth is. Cut is the social betting platform that lets you bet directly against your friends and other users on sports, politics, pop culture, even personal bets. Every bet is fully customizable and pre-funded, so nobody flakes when they lose. Plus, you get cash back on every single bet you make. Use promo code VSiN to get a 15% deposit bonus on your first deposit. Download Cut today, KUTT.com, or in the App Store, and use promo code VSIN. Jonathan Von Tobel with you here, wrapping up Money Moves. We'll have best bets coming up in about 5 minutes from now. A quick sanity check on some of you, by the way. Folks, I'm just asking for recommendations. This might surprise some, considering, yes, I am a Colts fan, and I've explained the lore behind it, but I've actually never set foot in the state of Indiana and or Indianapolis, so I'm looking for recommendations. I got some I shouldn't say very, but some somewhat angry responses about just asking for a recommendation on going to Indianapolis. One response was, go F yourself, which was like, okay, I guess. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out where to go. I did get some good recommendations, though, so I do appreciate some of those who did offer in seriousness. I was also met with some sarcasm. I mean this wholeheartedly. I don't know what St. Elmo's is. So I understand that is like, I guess, the thing, but I really don't know what that place is at all. And okay, so it's a steakhouse. I appreciate it. So we'll see. I will try to make it out there. It's also on some, look, because I have to work. We have to, I'm doing local radio till 6 p.m. Las Vegas time, which means I'm not done until 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then these stupid places close because, God forbid, you just stay open. So I will try to make it out. But I do appreciate some of the recommendations. The problem is, I am not a traveler like Stormy Buonantony. Stormy Buonantony is one that travels across the country, does all sorts of things. For example, we have a photo here of Stormy Buonantony and her husband, Chris, who went to go and watch some sumo wrestling the other day. We could throw this up. So Stormy is out in Japan. She will be back on Monday. But look at this, out traveling the world during the most busy time on the calendar. And here she is posing with some sumo wrestlers. And, don't worry, we actually have the footage, and we can air this because we don't have any broadcasting rights, but it wasn't broadcast on television. You check this out. An actual sumo wrestling match. Here we go. I mean, that's fantastic. For our radio audience, is exactly what you think it is. It is two men in sumo outfits wrestling with one another and going at it. But a tremendous sumo matchup. So Stormy's having the time of her life. Her husband, Chris, booing in the background. Not very happy with the result. I suppose that they had some allegiances somewhere. So good for her. Food looks great as well. I'm looking for more things as well. This is the ramen that they had the other day. So Stormy traveling it up and living her best life, I suppose, out there in Japan. The thing I am looking for, hold on. I'm going to get the term right here. I believe it is whatever is it, the rice that's got like the big piece of egg on the top. I don't know what it is, but I want to see that. I want to see whatever you call it, and Stormy will send that to me at some point. But again, she'll be back on Monday. We're going to hit the road, planning on being live from Radio Row Thursday and Friday out there in Indianapolis. That is why I'm traveling. Two birds, one stone, couple of jobs, but we'll be out there broadcasting, get some good interviews and more, so look out for that. Femi will be with us on Thursday and Friday. He'll be in studio. I'll be out there on the road for the Final Four coming up this weekend. All right, with that, I think that's everything we had for Stormy, so let's hit some best bets. Recap from yesterday first off. We'll start wherever the crew wants me to start. I believe it'll be Major League Baseball, but I don't want to. Okay, there we go. It's all in one. Thank you. I don't want to pull a Buonantony here. Red Sox, first five, -115. Don't get there. Yordan Alvarez, that is, goes yard. Astros get a victory against Boston. Royals run line just barely gets there in a low-scoring affair. How about that one? Run total of 10, and it's a 3-1 final, but the Royals get it done -1.5. And then the 76ers as a 1.5 point favorite ultimately fall. That was a weird game. Back and forth, fun the whole way. They take a 104-101 lead and end up losing by about 9 or so. So 76ers don't get there in a spot that I thought was going to be beneficial for them, obviously. For today, a couple of best bets for you, quite literally two. We will go head-to-head with our boy Zach Cohen I will fade the spot for the Phoenix Suns. Yes, Dylan Brooks is back. Hand injury, I think it's a good point in terms of his conditioning. My question is more from a scoring standpoint. What would that look like for Dylan Brooks? But the Magic -1.5 against the Phoenix Suns. Yes, they hate each other, and maybe this is the wrong time. This is a very much, speaking of hand injuries, an attempt to reach out and catch the falling knife for Orlando, but the spot is there for them against Phoenix. If there was going to be a time where you were buying low on Orlando, this seems to be it at home as a 1.5-point favorite, catching a team on the second leg of a back-to-back in the third game in 4 nights, and if not now, win for the Orlando Magic. So we'll take a stab at it, if you will, -1.5. We'll also throw in a little bit of baseball. It's funny, Gil asked me the other day, do you like to bet baseball early in the season? I was like, no, I like to take it easy. And then we're going. Rangers, first 5, -0.5 run, +105 here today. As we have talked about a lot, I like this Rangers team a ton. The team seems to be in good form offensively. I've seen over the last couple of games. We're getting Jacob deGrom here in the first 5. Trust this offense to be able to get to Eflin, who last year at the end of the season, of course, once he got flipped over, did not perform particularly well. Kind of trust him here in this situation against the Baltimore Orioles. So we'll roll with the Rangers first 5, -0.5 run at +105 with deGrom and the Rangers out there against Baltimore and Zach Eflin. All right, that does it for us. You guys play music for the next 10 minutes. No. We have a couple of basketball games we actually didn't get to in the NBA that I wanted to hit on really quickly. Let's start with Knicks and Rockets because we gave the injury report, and we also want to see if there's some updated injury reports for Cavs and Lakers before we get out of here as well. But did want to get a little bit deeper into this because Knicks and Rockets is going to be, it's a potential finals preview, but more so, I think it's a really interesting situation for Houston as we have been waiting for this team to get the cart back on the tracks. And we talk a lot about buying low and selling high and the ebbs and flows of the market. This might be one of those where maybe, just maybe, we're at a low point for Houston and it's worth buying on here. Rockets are a 1.5-point dog. Total's 217.5. But I think you can make a strong case for this being a spot to potentially back Houston. They are one of the worst cover teams in the NBA for the season, depending on your closing number. They're 31-43 against the spread. This is one of those, we always like to make fun, especially on Pod of the Future thing we talked about it a ton, but those old school handicapping spots like, back from the 4-game road trip, got to take care of the Bills and do all sorts of stuff. Coming back home, I think that is long gone here in today's day and age. And now, after a day off, you're back home, taking on the Knicks team in the midst of a road trip. I felt like this was a spot for Houston to come in and back them. I don't trust them enough to actually do it. I think they deserve to be about 1.5-point favorites here by my own measure. But this is one of those where, despite the fact that I view and perceive there to be a little bit of value here against the New York Knicks, this is not a team in a form that I think is entirely worth trusting. Clean injury report for the most part for Houston. Obviously, the no names that we know about are on there. Steven Adams among them, Fred VanVleet. But the notable role players for this team that have been playing real minutes for them are out there. So it's a good situational spot, I think, for Houston. For the Knicks, on the other hand, they've had their own struggles as of late. Coming off of the loss on the road against OKC, as I mentioned, this has been a 3-game stretch for them. And this is an interesting, I guess you want to call it, not like a scheduling spot or a sandwich spot, but the Knicks, they were at Charlotte and then they were at OKC. Some big heavyweight matchups. Now you get to take on Houston before ending your road trip at Memphis coming up on, I think it's Thursday. I just don't know if I trust the Knicks in this spot. And they've had their own struggles, you mentioned, failing to cover 3 out of their last 4. So Houston, I think, situationally makes a ton of sense. Just don't know if I trust them enough to get this done here against New York. The other thing we're waiting for still is whether or not Cleveland and LA and what these injury reports are going to look like. But I think this is a good point by Zach Cohen, who was with us a little bit earlier today. If Marcus Smart does not play today, might be worth buying back on the over here between these two. We saw this open 236.5. It's down to 234.5. To reiterate and to give some actual numbers behind what we have seen here, the Cleveland Cavaliers backcourt of James Harden and Donovan Mitchell has been very, very effective on offense. Having said that, defensively, as you would expect when you have 2 of your primary backcourt defenders being Mitchell and Harden, you're going to have some of your issues there. And that is what we have seen pop up with these two when they're out there on the floor. So according to Cleaning the Glass, with both James Harden and Donovan Mitchell on the floor together, the Cleveland Cavaliers have outscored opponents by, 7.9 points per 100 possessions, but they have given up 120.5 per 100 possessions. That ranks in the 20th percentile of two-man duos when you're talking about defensive rating. So you can score on these two. Meanwhile, the Lakers coming in on the second leg of a back-to-back, we know about some of their shortcomings potentially on defense, and their inability, I think, especially if Smart's not going to be out there, to really trust anybody in a one-on-one matchup with either Harden or Donovan Mitchell. that this could be a higher scoring game between the two. So still waiting to see what this is going to look like. Again, Harden playing nearly 40 minutes last night, Mitchell playing over 36. There is a chance that one of these guys rests, but if they both play, I think you're looking at a game that could go over that 234.5. And I would expect that if they're both announced too, that we get a little bit of buyback on there as well. But looking forward to it. I mean, this potentially could be a finals preview. I guess we should be honest. Lakers are a 3 seed in the Western Conference. I don't think they're going to get there. I think it's going to be hard to get over Houston, San Antonio, Houston, Freudian slip, Oklahoma City, Houston, and wow, I keep saying it. Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and Denver. But the Lakers, nonetheless, have been playing great basketball. JJ Redick continues to stump for his guy, Luka Doncic, to win MVP. Not going to happen. All right. All done for today. Check out everything we have to offer up on the website. Like, rate, review, and subscribe if you want to check out Money Moves. Also, Pod of the Futures episode is up if you want to go get that. Follow the money. The lesser half of Pod of the Futures, Mitch Moss and Paul Howard, will be with you for the next 3 hours. We'll see you.